United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Karen, roll call.
Mayor McCann.
Present.
Vice Mayor Watkins.
Here.
Councilman Reinhardt.
Here.
Councilman Johannes.
Here.
Councilman Duke.
Here. Public comments, Leonard, would you like to go?
Did you catch any fish last week?
Yeah, it was
Okay.
about average year. It was a good time.
I don't have anything really interesting again, but, our state senator and state representative were at our work meeting on May 25th, and they gave us an update. Mike Shirkey wants to increase funding for schools by another $450 per student. He also wants to increase state revenue sharing by 5% immediately and another 5% in future years. He also wants to fully fund county road patrol in future years. But this is his last year as a state senator. He's term limited on, he can't do anything more for us after this year. Andrew Fink, our state representative, wants to reduce our current income tax from 4.25 to 4.0%. He wants to give $100 million in grant funds for radio communications for police and fire agencies. And he wants to work on how to replace all the tax from fuel-funded vehicles as the sale of electric vehicles increase. I don't know we're gonna do that either. If everybody, I was told that if every vehicle on the road in the United States was electric, the United States could not produce enough electricity to keep them running, so.
Did you say anything about the road tax?
Yeah,
Because, I mean, they're gonna have to have the road tax on.
We're gonna have to have something, yes.
So, that hadn't been a discussion yet.
It's coming up,
Oh, I'm sure.
we're gonna have to, so. And if you don't have any questions, that's all I have this month.
I don't have any. Does anybody else? Thank you for your report.
Thank you. 6 months left, then you can get rid of me.
Yeah, don't forget your hat.
Thank you, Leonard.
Len, here's your hat.
Your hat.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I wouldn't get far without that, thank you.
And we appreciate you every month, thank you.
See you in July.
Yes. Consent agenda.
You stay out of trouble too.
Brandon?
Why don't you send Erin down here? She's a lot better
Nothing to
looking
add.
than you are.
Anybody have any questions, concerns about the consent agenda? Would anybody like to entertain a motion?
I'll entertain a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Do we have a support?
I'll support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. New business. Approval of the 2022 fiscal year amended budget, resolution 22-6-6. Brandon?
Thank you, Mayor McCown. This resolution amends the budget you set last June for the 2022 fiscal year and better reflects operations over the past year. I'm pleased to report that we anticipate revenues to exceed expenses in the general fund by a healthy amount. This is due in large part to the city receiving larger than expected revenues from the state's personal property tax reimbursement program. The stimulus, or the surplus, is also due in large part to staff continuing to monitor expenses and continuing to seek cost-effective solutions. And I appreciate the great care staff takes to reduce expenses where possible. Any questions for me or Karen?
If there's no questions, would anybody like to entertain a motion to resolution 22-6-6?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2022 fiscal year amended budget, resolution 22-6-6.
Do we have a support?
I'll support.
Any more questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing. Would anybody like to make a motion to go into a public hearing?
I'll make a motion to go into a public hearing for the 2023 fiscal year budget manager.
Do we have support?
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? no public.
Just
Seems
a-
like we have
There's
no
no comment.
No comments. Would anybody like to entertain a motion to go back to open session?
I'll return a motion to go back to open session.
Do we have a support?
I'll support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Adoption of 2023 fiscal year budget, resolution 22-6-7. Brandon?
Thank you, Mayor McCon. In your packet, you'll find the proposed FY '23 budget, along with my extended comments on the budget and the city's financial situation. This budget has a projected deficit of $287,000. Over the course of the fiscal year, we'll continue to find new ways to reduce costs while still providing a high level of service to the community. I'd like to thank the department heads and staff that helped put this budget together, as it's truly a team effort. Yep, that's all I have. Any questions on the budget?
I will make a statement that I went through it very close, and I was very pleased with what I saw. I thought staff has done a very good job of protecting our budgets and administrating them. Anybody have any questions? Would anybody like to entertain a motion for resolution 22-6-7?
Move to adopt 2023 fiscal year budget.
Does the millage rates need to be in the motion too?
No.
No.
Did you say 22?
2023.
Yeah, okay.
I support.
We have a motion and support. Any more questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approve Do It Right contract.
The city's contract with IT Right is expiring in May. I was approached about a new contract. IT Right stated that the city's contract is not up to date with current market pricing. And that IT Right was willing to spread the cost of the increase into smaller amounts over 3 years. An optional fourth year would have a 3% increase or the CPI index price increase rate. I requested that IT Right allow us to go month to month so that the contract will coincide with our July 1st budget year. In my report is a breakdown of the rates that they're offering, which for 2022 would be $6,960, all the way up to $14,633 in the year 2024. After that, it would be the 3% or the consumer price index. Currently, we're paying $4,800 annually. Because of the large increase, I reached out and met with companies that provided us pricing back when we first selected IT Right back in 2017 to make sure that this was still the most cost-effective option. So in your packet, you have pricing from Next IT, Zeta One, and Aptica ranging from $1,800 a month up to $3,000 a month. So IT Right offers the most cost-effective solution and also provides IT services for many communities in the state. And they've done a good job for the city, and they're very proactive when it comes to cybersecurity. Any questions on that?
I got none. Anybody else have questions?
No, I don't.
I noticed that the expense of it goes up,
Yeah.
on the each year, is that normal?
Yes.
Okay. Cause IT guys are hard to find,
They are.
there's the good ones in there.
Any other questions? Would anybody like to entertain a motion?
I entertain a motion to approve IT right contract.
Do we have a support?
I support.
A motion and support. Any more questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved demolition proposal. Brandon?
Thank you, Mayor McCon. Chicago Street, next to the post office. I also solicited proposals for the demolition of the home and the outbuildings at the property we purchased at 422 Mill Street, next to the wastewater treatment plant, to try to get some economies of scale. I received 2 proposals. In your report is a summary of those bids. Handy Excavating of Quincy offered the lowest bid at $29,000 for both properties, $13,000 for the 214 East Chicago, and $16,000 for 22 Mill Street. Handy Excavating was, as I mentioned, the lowest bid. They were also the lower bid on projects in the area at Quincy and Sturgis recently for home demolitions. Any questions on that?
Yeah, I have two. How did it come about with the court order? For one, how did that come about?
Well, there was a fire there,
Right.
and we got the building department to, they determined it was uninhabitable and condemned it. There were cleanup issues. It's been a very big mess. And there were actually people living in the garage and living in the camper. So we took it to court to get it cleaned up and to get it taken down, so that we can get that property cleaned up.
And then the other one, I thought I remember something up in Mill Street that, were we not looking to rent that house? Was that something that we talked about at one time?
We talked about it at one time, but after further investigation, it was determined that it would cost way more than it was worth to move forward in that way.
Okay.
It needs a lot of work to be able to rent it
No,
out.
that's fine, I wasn't really know. Okay.
And the main reason for that property was because it butts up to
Correct.
wastewater.
Correct. I knew that,
Future.
I thought we were trying to offset some of the costs with some of the possible rent or something on that, but
The farm
it's
line.
uninhabitable.
The farm.
Yeah.
Farm line would do that.
Okay.
On the property by the post office, are they still living there in the trailer?
No,
Okay.
we boarded it up, camper's gone.
I thought so.
It's been a real issue for the police department getting it taken care of.
In the post office.
Yeah, yeah.
Else you can't hear that time. and
So will the city, does the city own that lot where that house is?
No. We probably will eventually, it'll go to tax sale.
Right.
Because we will put a lien on it for the cost of cleanup, correct?
Right.
Correct.
Any other questions? Would anybody like to entertain a motion for demolition?
I'll entertain a motion for demolition.
Do we have support?
I'll support.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Approved water tower improvement proposal. Brandon.
Thank you, Mayor McCon. Bids were open for the water tower interior painting and improvement project on May 25th, with the city receiving 6 responses. L&T Painting was the low bidder at $93,000 for the project and $20,000 for a portable pressure tank. It's likely that that portable tank will be necessary. The DPW crew looked at the tower and found sections of piping that need to be replaced, and piping would likely need to be replaced all the way to the main. Is that correct?
Right, I'd recommend that. If anybody wants to see the pictures, I got it.
Can we go up in there?
Sure.
I always wanted to go up there.
Have at it.
I'm worried about you,
Let's
Joe.
No, I'm serious.
That's not
Well,
what it looks
back
like.
when we were kids, they used to go up there and they were supposed to, so to be able to do it legally.
Would anybody like to entertain a motion?
I'll entertain a motion to approve the water tower improvement proposal.
Do we have support?
I'll support.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approval of the department building siding project. Brandon.
Thank you, Mayor McCon. The two DPW barns on Industrial Avenue are in need of exterior improvements, as it's been a long time since they've been painted. Received pricing from two companies to side the building with metal siding, so that paint is no longer needed and would have a much longer lifespan. Both companies included pricing to add insulation as well between the siding and the cinder block walls. This would greatly reduce heating costs for the large building and keep the small building insulated better, as that one does not have heat in it. Hirschberger Construction offered the lowest price at $56,300 with a half-inch of insulation included in the price. Question you have?
The only question I have, Chuck, one bid, there was some PVC piping for downspout that was, on their bid. Is that something that is an issue?
No, the downspouts are actually in pretty good shape, so
Okay.
that's
Figured
just something
Dan,
you
because
threw in.
Dan's not gonna do it, that's not right.
Right.
So. And I'm pleased to see that we're having insulation there,
Yeah.
cause that's just a no-brainer in my book.
Anytime insulation.
Yeah.
Stick gauge.
Anybody have any other questions? Would anybody like to entertain a motion?
I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the Department of Public Works buildings siding project.
Do we have a support?
I'll support.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Additional MERS pension contribution. Brandon?
Thank you, Mayor McCon. In an effort to increase our pension funded level, I asked MERS to provide the city with an option for a lump sum contribution to the city's employee pension plan. In January of 2018, the city opened a surplus fund in which the city can make voluntary contributions, which will serve to reduce the city's overall unfunded liability. 2 voluntary payments were made in 2018 and helped significantly increase our funding level and helped us absorb losses from reduced market returns and MERS experience studies. The city's annually required contributions would stay the same, and this lump sum payment would help increase the city's overall funded percentage. Staff is recommending a $50,000 voluntary contribution, with the funds coming out of the surplus funds from the amended budget that you're approved tonight for the 2022 fiscal year. So that is included in that budget. The rough estimate that they provided would take our current fund level of 73.5%, and after that contribution, bring it up to 75%. In a couple of weeks, we'll receive our new evaluation of our plan, and we'll have a better idea of funded levels at that point. Hopefully, it will go up even more this year. Any questions on that? This will help us reach our funded level faster and reduce contributions in the future, saving money down the line.
When you hear so many communities getting in trouble because they underfund their pension, I think this is a very smart thing to do. Anybody have any other questions or comments? Would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion for the additional MERS pension contribution.
Do we have a support?
I support it.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same. Approve hold harmless agreement with Bronson Fire Association.
Thank you, Mayor McCon. Chief Wilbur approached the city about allowing Officer Travis Berry, who recently completed the medical first responder training, to go on medical calls while on shift with the city of Bronson. In your packet is a hold harmless agreement, which would allow for this. Police calls would obviously take top priority, but if time allows, Officer Berry would be available to respond to medical calls. The agreement would hold the city harmless in the event there were an incident while on a fire department call, while on a police shift. The agreement was drafted by the city attorney, and I also had our property and liability insurance carrier review it as well. Make sure all of our bases were covered and there were no concerns. I have provided you an updated copy at your desk, which allows for the city manager to sign on behalf of the city rather than me.
Questions on that? Is there any concern that he would be the first one on site and then a police matter comes up and we gotta make a decision at that point? Is there any concern for that? I understand this agreement helps eliminate any liability that the city has for that. That's correct, right? But is there any concern on your behalf that, I understand it's probably a fluke situation, but is there any concern by either one of you?
It's a possibility that it could happen. Like you said, it could be a fluke. At that point, we just have decisions to make.
We ever done it before?
Not in that capacity. We've never tried it. We used to respond to medical calls years ago when most of us were first responders. We had the AED, we had oxygen and stuff like that, but the licensing has changed, reference to oxygen, and most of us aren't first responders anymore. So it kind of went on the wayside, other than, like full arrest situations where we have the AED, we would definitely respond to those. But this is something that we thought that would kind of help all around, but there isn't without, some hiccups or stumbling blocks that we might come across if we have a situation like that. But
I think it's a great idea. I'm not arguing this at all. I see it's a great benefit for the fire department. I almost feel as though it puts you at a disadvantage with your department if a situation comes up. Do you have any concerns with that?
if the only concern I have is if we have something like a physical assault in progress and he's tied up on a medical, at that point he's got to ascertain, which one's going to be more important. Is he doing CPR on somebody or not? And then would respond to that. Or if he knew somebody was coming, he definitely would leave and go do that. But it's something that we've talked about. We haven't had that situation happen. It could happen. But, he is, an employee of the department, and that is his primary employment. So most of the time, he would have to basically leave and go handle the call based on the call. If it was a non-emergency, obviously he would stay and handle it until someone else showed up.
Are we gonna monitor anything, and just give like a report back to say, nothing's happened or?
Yeah, we can do that.
It might be just interesting to know if there's a conflict and how it's resolved.
Yeah, absolutely. We can do that.
This is something new.
Uncharted territory here. But yeah, we can monitor that and then report on that if there's any conflicts and relook at the situation if we're finding out that there's conflicts or something of that nature. But absolutely.
Based on my experience, the cops show up before any of the medical guys usually anyhow, so it's only a benefit for him to be able to work on them with that license he has. And then, like you were saying, if somebody else shows up and he has something else, there's no problem for him to go. So I think it's...
But there could be a situation where he's the only one, with everybody being volunteers, say it's a weekend or something and there's nobody around. There could be a situation that he could be the only one showing up.
Or in the middle of the night if he's on a third shift.
Middle of the night, something like that. But, something like that, then obviously he would probably give me a call and we would make a decision, how he would handle that if we ever had that situation and it was a serious one. But we haven't had that as of yet.
There normally isn't that long period of time between his arrival and the department's, is there?
Yes, a couple points I'd like to make if I could. Our average response time for medicals within the city limits is 2 minutes. So we would have fire personnel on scene normally within 2 minutes for anything that Officer Ferry would respond to. Obviously, if there's a police matter that comes up, I agree with Chief Johnson wholeheartedly that if it's an emergency, he's going to leave that medical scene immediately. The only time I could see a bit of a problem with that is there is a law that once someone who's medically licensed makes contact on scene, they they cannot leave that patient unless someone of an equal licensure level or above stays with that person. But I would argue the fact with the state of Michigan that he's not working for the fire department, he's responding under our license, but he's actually working for police department, and hopefully that would negate that. I think it would be very rare for that to happen. The other comment that pops into my mind is sometimes medicals and crimes happen at the same time. And the most common one of those would be illegal substances. When someone calls 911 and asks for medical aid, when the police show up, we always request them to those calls if they're not automatically dispatched. When that person requests that medical help, that negates the legal issue at that point in time. So in other words, if we were to go on a meth overdose right now, and Steve and I ran out of here and we both went, we're gonna treat the person. He's not gonna take any action against if there's drugs there on scene. Because once they ask for help, that negates the criminal activity.
And there's been a change in the law that basically if someone calls for help because someone has overdosed, say on heroin even, that person who overdosed isn't getting charged with a crime because they called for help. It's kind of falls under like the Good Samaritan, type thing. So basically, if there's substances there, they get confiscated, but there's no criminal aspect into it for someone to call help for a friend or even for themselves. And we've had it happen many times where they're calling for a friend and then they actually leave the scene and leave the victim there because they're afraid that once we get there, we're going to arrest them because they're involved, not knowing that we're not. We're there to get the patient treated and get them taken care of first, but we're not seeking criminal action on them because we can't. The only time that would change would be as if that person died and there was a link to somebody else supplying the drug and then that person died because of that overdose, because of mixed chemicals and like that, then we know who that is, then we can go after that dealer or that person that supplied it. But anybody that calls 911 for someone an overdose, that person or the person calling is not getting charged with anything.
Yes, and last point I'd like to make is very, very, very rarely is it that there's no one from the fire department available to run medicals. There's 12 of us that are licensed. Particularly during the day, it's mainly just Ken and I. Anytime he or I leave town throughout the day, evening, whenever, we are in constant contact with each other to try to make sure that either he or myself are here in town. I think since I've been chief for you guys for 5.5 years now, in that time I can remember once where we didn't have someone available to run a medical. So as far as Travis getting there and us not coming, that would be, I'm not gonna say it wouldn't ever happen, but it would be extremely rare.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Anybody would like to entertain a motion?
I'll take the motion to approve the whole harmless agreement.
Do we have a supporter?
I'll support.
So everybody's aware, I am going to abstain from this because my duties with the fire department and the city, it very well could have been that I could do it, but this way I don't have to worry about anybody throwing stones because I did it. So just letting everybody know that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Approval of Branch County Road Commission proposals. Grant?
Thank you, Mayor McCollum. The Branch County Road Commission has submitted proposals for road maintenance projects for the summer. Chuck Buckley is recommending we address Schmidt Farms, North Lincoln, Matilda Street, Wayne Street, and Elders Road, along with the DPW parking lot, which is in desperate need of repair. The total for all this work is estimated to be just over 121,000, but would be based on the actual time and materials used. Staff also plans to have the road commission or their contractor perform crack filling on Madison Street and Grant and Corey Streets. We'll also be looking to reseal the cemetery roads there, as well as City Hall, and getting some competitive pricing. So I'll bring that to you later. Any questions on road projects?
Do you have any questions, Brandon or Chuck?
This is all part of the
will say I'm pleased to see us doing road work every year. It's making a difference when you drive around town. So, with that said, and we'd like to entertain a motion.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the Branch County Road Commission proposals.
Do we have a support?
I'll support.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Ma'am, did you wish to address council?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have 3 minutes, right? I'm Kim Lasada. I'm sorry, I'm late to your meeting. I was knocking on doors and I didn't want to leave the gentleman. He's telling me something pretty serious. So, I'm Kim Lasada. I'm the senator for the 21st Senate District currently, which is Berry, Cass, and St. Joseph counties. With the redistricting, Branch has been added, and it is the 17th Senate District. I'm working hard. I was a school teacher, mother of 4. My last child just graduated high school. Lived all my life in Berrien County. Ran for office the first time. I served in the House for 1 term. I ran just because I just wanted someone there that just represented me and my community. It wasn't a stepping stone to anything else. It wasn't, getting a benefit out of anything, being in office. And I continued that in the Senate, and I've worked really hard. I always know who I work for. And
I think the air shut off.
I believe that my staff is great at addressing people's concerns and problems, answering their questions, getting help for them. I have been endorsed by this new district, 17th Senate District, has 7 counties. I've been endorsed by all the sheriffs, the prosecutors, Right to Life, Farm Bureau, FOP, Small Business Association of Michigan, but most importantly, I think the reason for those endorsements is because I do look at the issues, like the farm issues. I used to own a farm, sold it about a year and a half ago. And, I dig in and I don't just vote the way, fall in line and vote the way Republicans, need to vote. If there are issues that are really pertinent to my district, I really reach out to those who are the experts in those areas and find out what would be beneficial to us. So, like I said, I work hard, and I want to be a voice for you now, and I'm always available and ready to work for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Best of luck. City staff comments.
I don't have anything.
Scott?
Just really quick, we did get a state of Michigan first responder training and recruitment grant, just shy of $4,000, which paid for the medical training for Travis Ferry and Don Reinhardt. And also Don Reinhardt is going on to take his EMT class and is paying for that as well, so that's good news.
Great. City managers comments.
Thank you, Mayor McCown. Just want to let you know that the fire department generator is now, police department is now connected to that generator. That work has been completed. We hired 2 seasonal workers for DPW. A lot of maintenance. That's all I have.
Okay. Rick, what do you have?
How you guys doing, Scott, on ambulances and stuff like that?
That is on the agenda for tomorrow evening's Bronson Area Fire Association annual budget meeting. That will be here at 7 o'clock, if anybody'd like to attend. That is on the agenda. Steve Frisbee from Life Care will be here to discuss it with the board. We've been sitting very well here in Bronson for the most part, because the ambulance is typically sitting here covering both Sturgis area and Coldwater area. But unfortunately, when those get pulled out, we've had some instances where we had one vehicle accident where we had 5 patients. One was deceased. The helicopter would not fly due to wind, and we were waiting for our ambulances for our remaining 4 patients coming from Battle Creek and Concha. Another instance that we had was on Wildlife Drive where we had a 28-minute response time for an ambulance. When they showed up on scene, we loaded the 46-year-old man in the back of the ambulance who was suffering chest pain. He immediately went into cardiac arrest. We transported him to the hospital with life care, and he was pronounced dead once we arrived on scene. So there are times where it can have an impact on the outcome of the situation. And my proposal to our fire board tomorrow will be to utilize what's called the safety net ambulance system. Life Care has one of their old units that will be coming back to them in a couple of months. They have offered to give us that unit. Our personnel will staff it. We run the medicals anyways. If one of their ambulances isn't available within 10 minutes and it's a priority call where we know that patient needs to get to the hospital as quick as possible, we will load that patient up and take them in that ambulance. We'll be working underneath their license, but with our personnel. Here's how many people I need to pull this off. We're about right here. So I don't think that should negate us from moving forward with it, though. I think that we should take advantage of that when we have the personnel available to use it, that we do. The unfortunate part is you need an EMT. So there's medical first responders, there's EMTs, and there's paramedics. Most of our personnel are medical first responders. Myself, Ken Stutzman, and Mariah Cutler are EMTs. Mariah lives quite a way south of town. Ken's 80 years old. I have a bad back. So we're not quite where we need to be on staff to be able to pull that off, but I think we could start to make it work. So I know that was a long-winded answer, but it's an important topic.
I'm glad, because I've heard a little bit on that.
And I just want everybody to understand it's not a life care issue. This is an issue that's going on across our state and across the country.
I appreciate all you guys have done, and I know it's been a struggle, and hopefully they can get that going. I think it'd be a great thing.
Absolutely.
And down in Ryan's school, when they come out those ball fields, they're all right there. Is there any way to get any oil down to knock the dust down? Or who's in charge of something like that?
We could contact county, see what county would come in and do it.
Yeah, and I didn't know what would be school property. That's what I was wondering, is that's.
You have to get permission from them first.
And that driveway's in pretty rough shape right now too, so it definitely needs graded first before they do any type of dust control or something on that.
Some of the homes have been approached, and that's why I brought it up. Dust is just rolling on their homes. And I noticed that when it's dry, when the cars, they're coming out, they're pretty looking this way, just rolling in dust. And so, I was asked to bring it up, so, if you help that, because that's a really, really nice complex back there. It brings in a lot of people. I guess some of the people get back to their cars. So, I appreciate your listening.
check it out.
Thank you very much. And I think that's good.
Joe, just wanted to thank Brandon for setting up next year's budget. And as you said, you had a lot of support and help from the rest of the staff, so thanks to all of you. Bill?
Same thing, thanks to Brandon and the staff for the budget, including Chuck. I'm sure he's involved in some way or another too, so. And also I want to thank Steve and Scott for their involvement in getting this worked up so that Travis can go on these calls, because you never know, the life he saves might be yours, so I think we should support everything we can, but or mine. That's all I got.
Yeah, I wanna give a shout out to Scott and Steve, just being able to work together like that and figure out those little loopholes to better utilize our personnel. That's the first I heard of the ambulance, being able to staff it with something like that, I think that's clever. Looking into that, doing what you can to is a big thing, so I appreciate all the hard work, looking behind the scenes to figure out what you can do to enhance everything.
Thank you.
I think the cooperation between the police department and fire department is just part of the big picture of the city. Because I think it works with every department in our city. The spirit of trying to work together care of the people of town. That's our number one concern, is taking care of the people. So, thank you to all the departments for this. Thank you to all the departments for the work you do, helping get the budget around with Brandon. Love the way Brandon budgets, because we get laid out with a worst case scenario, and between everybody working together, we end up with a positive picture in the end. Thank you all. The roads, I'm happy to see in the budget that we are spending funds on the roads so that we can keep them up and move forward on that. So, thank you to your department for that, Joe.
I agree with that.
Yes. So with that said,
What's your name again?
Kim Lasada,
Kim Lasada.
yeah, like Hakuna Matata, Lasada.
I
I
was
was a
gonna say that.
teacher, so.
I was gonna add that I want to thank you for coming down too.
yes,
So,
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and like I say, best of luck.
Yeah.
Would anybody like to entertain a motion to adjourn? Oh, wait.
We're going to close session.
They go into closed session.
I make a motion to go into closed session.
I'll support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, everybody. Thanks to everybody for showing up.
Brandon, does that stay going?
Yeah. I'm gonna get that,